whole process. We just mentioned the question pane. Please don't hesitate to type in any questions you might have, and we'll answer them as soon as we can. All right, we're going to get started. So just a little bit about Ingenuity Marketing Group. We are a marketing consulting firm that focuses exclusively on professional services, and we help firms across the country focus on issues such as determining what your differentiators are, what to do for slow growth, and getting everyone on the same page as to what your value is.
All right, I'm Rachel Gold. I think I've met many of you, so hello again and welcome to the new people. You can see from my bullet points here that I used to work as a journalist, and I've now been in marketing communications for over a decade. I'm also a published author, so I know a lot about personal branding in that aspect, as well as firm brands. And I do everything in Ingenuity, from writing little detailed, ad copy, little pieces, up to helping firms brand themselves newly, start to finish. So that's a little bit about me.
One of Rachel's biggest strengths is finding those differentiators. And this is me, Shanna Carl. Before starting in professional services, I worked for a large publishing company here in the cities, and have been in marketing since, at some point you lose track of the years, but it's several years now. Fairly active in the accounting and AIM, the Association of Accounting Management. And at Ingenuity, I work with a lot of our clients. I'm kind of the face and the voice they get to hear the most of, because I'm the point person.
And if you haven't met Shanna in person, she can organize a dizzying array of tasks of different sizes. So if you do get a chance to meet her, you can always ask her how she does it. We still have not figured out what the secret sauce is, but as soon as we do, we're going to clone it.
And Rachel and I work very collaboratively, so she's good to have on the team.
So we wanted to give you a chance to meet our team. This is all of us together, and Wendy often says that when she shows this at presentations, she asks whether she hires for brains or for beauty. The answer is yes.
As you can see.
Which we take as a big compliment. And we just wanted to give you a sense of our firm, to give you a sense of the context that we're talking out of today. We certainly have recruitment challenges ourselves. We work with a lot of our clients who have those same kinds of challenges, and we have a very good retention history. So that's some of where we're coming from, both our experiences and our client experiences, as we talk to you today.
This is just a quick glance at some of the things that we do. Those of you that have been on our webinars before, and even those that haven't, Ingenuity is a full-service marketing agency, so we can do everything that you see here, and I won't read every bullet point, but we're really going to focus on kind of the growth consulting and the brand development today.
And then just quickly, we wanted to flash up the images of just some of our clients to give you a sense for the different size and scope of firms that we've worked with. And we work all across the United States. So we've worked with large and small, we've worked in different geographic areas, and with different levels of challenge in terms of recruiting, lateral hiring, and retention. And I'm just going to reiterate here while we're at this moment that we love questions. So feel free to ask anything at any point during this presentation. And it'll pop up on our screen, and we'll get to it as soon as we can, unless we're about to cover it on the slide, in which case we'll kind of hold out for that. So we're going to start by telling you some ways you can tell if your brand isn't working, because sometimes it's not obvious, Like sometimes you've got a brand, you like your brand, you're used to it, the partners are really comfortable with it, and the signs that it's not working aren't as clear as you think. So this is where we're going to start, and then I'm going to give you some stats in our second section.
Rachel loves stats, and those of you on her webinars know that, and they're always interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to get some numbers. We're going to try to kind of get the outside view of what's it like out there outside your firm in the hiring world. Then we thought we'd show you some cool examples, so you can look forward to that. And we're actually going to give you the examples before we give you the tips, because we think it's useful to have some visuals in your mind as we walk you through the fourth section of this webinar, which is really going to be about these tips that you can implement in your own firms to build this employer brand. So your brand isn't just client-focused. You've also got a brand that's working for recruiting, hiring, retention, all of those pieces.
Okay, so let the fun begin. So we're going to do a poll. So in just a minute, we're going to launch it, and we want you to vote for, of the 5 items listed here on the screen, which has happened to you. It gives us a great sense of the audience and some of the challenges they're facing. And then you can see you're actually not alone. We'll share the results for you in just a minute. You should be able to see the poll now. And so I spun on this end to see the numbers. To see the numbers move. So.
Have you picked a favorite, Shanna?
I have. Oh, look at that. Oh, just switched a lot right there. Okay.
We're going to give you maybe about 15 more seconds to vote if you haven't voted. Most of you have voted, it looks like. We'll just hold out for a few more. Oh, there we go. We're almost at 100%.
Oh, we will! Yeah. We've reached 100%.
All right. So hopefully you are now seeing the poll results. And we definitely have a winner, which is laterals going to other firms.
Absolutely. Followed right by a few available recruits. And we can tell you from the firms that we worked with across the country, this is not really a surprise to us. These are two of the biggest issues that we hear from our clients very, very frequently. And so these are some of the things that we work very closely with them on.
And this is also, you know, the reason we put these up here is that this is a way to tell that your brand's not as strong as you need it to be. So, you know, if you're having a conversation with your leadership, your shareholders, your partners, and they don't understand why you need to strengthen the brand, these are some of the things that you can point to, you know, that you've got, you know, you see the shallow referral pipeline, you might think it's all about business development, but a lot of that marketing makes that a lot easier. It fills it up. And we'll talk in depth about a couple of these on future slides, but this is really, these are the litmus test for, is your brand not quite as strong as you want?
So this is a little bit what Rachel just mentioned. You may not know that your brand isn't working to recruit and retain that talent simply because a lot of times they're not going to tell you. They're just going to go to another firm, and there might be some other factors, but there may be a chance where they don't even talk with you because of the image that is out there. So, and you won't have any way to know that unless you look at some of these statistics and we really start delving into it a little bit deeper to find why that talent might be going somewhere else. And here's the beauty, though, is that branding works beyond the hire, and Rachel mentioned it with the shallow referral pipeline, that branding also can help those new hires bring in business. And they want to know, we've heard from a lot of clients, and Rachel, you can jump in here too, that several times new recruits say they go with their firm simply because they see the commitment a firm has to marketing and business development, which of course includes the brand.
All right, so now the promised statistics. You know, definitely sometimes we get that siloed experience when we're inside of a firm and we have our opinions about what's going on. And what I love about some good quotes and statistics is that there's this ability for them to show you a view that might be different from what you think is actually happening. It's called the outside view. You know, inside your firm is the inside view. So let's look at some trends. So this is from a 2013 lateral hiring study in today's aggressive business climate.
Did you even know there was a lateral hiring study? I didn't until Rachel brought it to my attention.
That's because I'm a master Googler. There's actually a certificate for that, master Googler.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, congratulations.
Right. So basically, today's climate, and this might not be my surprising stat of the day, but attracting lateral partners from the outside, it's a strategy that a lot of people are using. And more firms are spending money at that high, heavyweight lateral level, trying to accelerate growth. In fact, firms can't get enough highly qualified tax talent, a complete role reversal from 5 years ago. So we're seeing with the economic climate starting to shift, and with the numbers of graduates, people have made a lot of decisions during the recession that we're starting to see play out in the industry in terms of, especially at that lateral level, who you can attract, who you can get,
and who you can keep. I think I think the rapid turnover was low on the list, but you want to make sure you're keeping the best talent because that reflects in the firm in the long run.
Definitely. Well, remember the top one on our list there was laterals going to other firms.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's it's not quite it doesn't have that turnover feel, right. But it's when someone gets lured away, it's icky. And then I thought this was pretty dramatic. So 90% or 96% of law firms surveyed in 2012 said that lateral hiring was going to be part of their growth strategy in 2013. So yeah, that's pretty much everybody.
And so it's a lot of competition out there for people looking for those lateral moves.
And then I thought this was interesting also. So this is from new accounting graduates hired a percentage of degrees. And I like a good chart like this because you can see the way the lines are growing, which is that, you know, the bachelor's degrees are dropping in terms of hires, and master's is coming up. And I think that also reflects that move towards more experienced people with more depth of experience, more depth of knowledge. And I think it's reflected in the lateral hires as well. So we, again, wanted to check in with you all and do another quick poll and see what your experience is. So I'm just going to run this poll. And so the question is, you know, what's your firm's priority? Are you mostly going for new hires, lateral, a mix? Or are you, you know, maybe hiring is not a huge priority this year and really you just want to keep the great people that you've got? All right, nice. We've got about 15 more seconds for those of you who are holding out, making up your mind. All right, we're going to close it and show it. All right, so yes, this is definitely keeping track with what we've been seeing in terms of the stats. So new hires, it's a concern, but it's probably not a top concern. You know, some of you, that's your priority. Laterals or a mix is really a big deal. And then it looks like about a third of you, maybe you've got great people, and it's just about keeping those people and empowering them and helping them bring in business so that they want to stay and so that they really fit in well with the firm. So thank you very much for polling with us. And I just have a couple more stats to show. I wanted to talk to our engineers, our AEC firms on the webinar today. So by 2022, civil engineering jobs will increase 20%, and environmental engineering jobs will increase 15%. So I didn't find good lateral hiring stats, but I know that's a huge issue in the AEC industry. But you can see that job pace is really, it continues to grow at a very rapid pace, and if graduates are not keeping up with that, that's going to continue to stay tight and difficult. And then, so one of the ways that this intersects with your brand is with your employer brand. So this top is a quote that defines kind of what the employer brand is. It's a way of looking at your brand from that employee perspective. You know, from the inside staff perspective or from the hiring perspective. A lot of firms don't think so much about this. You know, they view their brand, they want their brand to work to bring them in business, but maybe they haven't thought through what does this communicate to someone who's going to come to work for us.
I think it's a really good point, Rachel. And some of the research that I did as we were preparing for this webinar is you want that brand to be a brand that you communicate across all channels, but again, taking into consideration how does that messaging actually affect the people you're wanting to bring into the firm from a staff perspective.
And a lot of times what happens is, you know, employers, firms, they're saying the same things. We deal with this all the time when we're working on branding, where someone says, well, let's just say that our services are high quality. And everybody says that, so that becomes the bottom line. I have an anecdote about this. Apologies to anyone who's heard this one before, because it's one of my favorite stories, but I was working with a firm that, you know, we're talking about some key themes for them. And they wanted excellence to be a key theme, and they wanted leadership, you know, and I said, those words aren't strong enough. You know, those are really dilute. They're used a lot in the marketplace. But that didn't really come across until I was driving with one of the top leaders of the firm, and we passed a billboard. And the billboard actually said, leaders in excellence. And it was an advertisement for the local crematorium.
They did some really key differentiators right after that.
Yeah. So then they saw, like, okay, if even the funeral homes are saying leaders in excellence, we need to stand out. If everyone's saying service, quality, you know, we have an excellent, we have work-life balance. I was just hearing about this actually with law firms, that everybody says, oh, we have work-life balance. And the piece I was listening to was saying prospective hires are being told, don't ask, do you have good work-life balance? Ask, how many times did you have dinner with your family this week?
Oh,
you know, so your prospective hires are getting smarter too. So that's why it's really important to have thought through, you know, if we want to demonstrate work-life balance, how do we demonstrate it? How do we language it in a way that doesn't sound trite and overused? So that's what your employer brand is. So now that hopefully you're all excited, let's show you some examples. And like I said before, we think that when you see these, look at these, and we'll talk about what they're really doing well. But then we're going to really break it down for you in the tips section as well. All right, and we've received half a question, so would our questioner who sent us half a question, if you send us the other half,
we'd be happy to address it.
Yes, yes. All right, so we're gonna dive into some examples while we wait for our other. Otherwise, we'll make up the other half of the question. All right, so this is just a great example of a robust careers section from BAR. I think many of you are probably familiar with them, a large engineering firm in Minnesota and some other states. And what's nice about this, we've done some work with them, and they've done a lot of amazing work on their own. And they really did a good job here of covering different viewpoints in an interesting way. So they don't just have that career opportunities piece over on the left. They have something that really talks about their culture. The career development section there in the middle shows that they're going to have a commitment to developing you as a new hire, challenging projects, because they've worked through, okay, who do we want to hire?
What's important to them.
Right, we want to hire people who want challenging projects. So they put that right out there to attract people. So this can kind of give you a sense overall for a careers section that really covers a variety of different interests, but is also, they also have a vested interest because they're fairly large and they get a fair number of applicants, and cutting down the applicants who aren't a good fit culturally.
And so many times you see a career section that simply has maybe one or two job postings, and it has, that's basically it and how to apply, or there's no job listings at this point. So this really takes it way beyond that to being, you get a sense for what they're looking for, and are you a good fit, and do you want to take it to the next level?
Okay, we got the rest of our questions, so now we can answer it. So first of all, we're supposed to define the word lateral, which is a really good point. We probably should have said that.
Thank you, whoever asked that. I didn't see who that was, so thank you.
So a lateral, and this is probably used more in law and accounting than in ADC. A lateral hire is just a more senior hire. So it's not someone who's right out of school. It's not someone who has just a couple years of experience, but it's someone who maybe has been 10, 15 years or more in the field. They're very good at what they do, and they're going to move laterally from a firm that they've been at for a while, sort of across to your firm. So that's what a lateral hire is. It's a more senior hire.
And I think lateral hires, we look at that a little bit differently because they're leaving one firm and they're not, going to another firm where they're going to get promoted or be partner, but there has to be something super appealing about that firm that they're going to because they're just making that lateral shift. Yeah, okay. Okay, so, speaking of laterals, this is a CPA firm that we have worked with, and they were very focused, as many of you are, on bringing in laterals to the firm. And so as part of their career section, they absolutely created a page dedicated to that. And for example, you can see their tagline, relationships count. This was an important message that they wanted to convey. And one of that's now their partner, she left the Big Four, and she said the reason that she even talked to this firm is because they had that as their tagline. That was something super important to her, and she thought if a CPA firm would put that everywhere, that they must have the same values that she did. And she's now a partner with the firm. So you can see that, everything from tagline to brand to career section really brings it all together for what those lateral hires are looking for.
And you can also see here, I've dropped down the careers section, drop down over on the right on this image, and that they just have 3 sections, but they're good sections. There's one about the firm culture in general, and then they've split it out. Interns and graduates would be kind of those new hires, and then experienced professionals is how they're talking about laterals, and they have a whole page that speaks to that.
Oh, and you're right. Oh, we have another question.
All right, so Shanna, here's my question for you. If you're a smaller firm, if I'm working in a small firm and I don't have a lot of lateral hires, do I still need a page for laterals?
My answer to that is yes, because even if you don't want a lot of lateral hires, if you want a few lateral hires, you want a page that talks to them, that experienced professional, as this CPA firm has defined them, and what the firm can offer to them.
All right, and I would also add to that, though, you could probably get by with a like if you're a really small firm, you can probably get by with a section.
I agree with that.
Yeah, if your web, I mean, it depends on your web architecture. If you have a website that's a huge pain to change anything on, like if you can't add a page,
just add a paragraph or something underneath the career section to know that you're paying attention to them. All right, testimonials. Testimonials are good in so many different ways, but putting it on your careers page or throughout your website about what it's like to work with the firm and what the reason certain, like I said, in this instance, a staff auditor chose this firm, it's very powerful. And we've even seen firms that are now using video as a way to provide those testimonials about why they love working at a specific firm. And it really gets the message across about why this firm might be different than another one.
And we have a firm that we worked with where the format that they did with video, the way they did it was they just set a morning aside and scheduled up a bunch of their senior people and brought in a film crew and had them set up in a conference room. And so each of the senior partners would come in and one of us would interview them for about 20 minutes and they'd get filmed, and then that 20-minute interview would be turned into a 2-minute video, just the best, the highlights. But I thought what was great about that is, it interrupted the firm for a morning, so it was minimal disruption, and then each senior partner only had 20 minutes to take out of their schedule to do it, but they ended up on their careers page having, I think, 8 or 10 videos where in each different area of the firm, they had, in addition to senior partners, they actually had some new hires that they filmed as well. So you could really work down the page and see a lot of different viewpoints from that firm. And I think one of the neat things about video, when someone's speaking to you on video, it feels very honest. Because you see their face and you see that they're just leveling with you about what they're talking about.
And it is, and you might not have the opportunity to talk with them otherwise, at least up to the point of the interview. So it's a great opportunity to hear from the leadership, but also those that are, that are just beginning with the firm and why they chose. I think it's a great idea.
Plus, it's great search engine optimization. I'm just going to geek note that in there.
Geek note that, like that.
Questions about that, email me later. Or I think I have a webinar on that next month. So then I can, yes, exactly. All right, so this is KFI, and they have a very cool looking website that, we may have been involved in. And, but what I also wanted to show was that an innovative website tends to demonstrate that your firm is innovative. So you can kind of say, oh, we're really on the cutting edge of this. And particularly, I think, particularly in engineering, it's very important. And then it depends, accounting law depends on what kinds of clients you work with. But if you're an accounting firm or a legal firm that works with high tech, or you work with, very sophisticated clients, you're going to want sophisticated hires. And to get that, you have to show that you have a level of sophistication that matches. Because, these hires are going to be looking at many different sites. And if your site looks like it was coded back in 1987, even if you're amazing as a firm, they're not going to get that feel. And this is the thing where you don't hear from them. It's not like they email you and say, I'm sorry, your site looks like it was coded in 1987. Right, they just pass on. So think about, from the perspective of a lateral hire, a new hire, what is my website communicating? Does it show really the sophistication level of the firm or the warmth of the firm, if that's what's important, or the innovation? Is it really communicating that to the people that we want to come work with us?
Oh, and Facebook. What did we do before Facebook? Facebook is a great way for firms to really showcase the culture of their firm. I mean, who doesn't smile when you see this gentleman in the Astros shirt at his workstation? He looks thrilled to be at work and just really happy to be there. So Facebook, we really talk to our clients about it's a great way if you keep it updated and post pictures and talk about what the firm is doing from a cultural standpoint. It really can communicate what you do from a charitable standpoint, what kind of events and activities do you participate in as a team. You get a great sense of, obviously, the sports team this group supports, but what is happening within the firm, and it's an easy way to communicate those messages. And a lot of times, people, if they're looking at your firm, Facebook and LinkedIn are where they go right after the website. So you want to make sure that those messages are consistent, and Facebook is a great way to showcase your firm's culture, but also the friendliness and anything unique and interesting.
And, you know, one of the funny things we've discovered on Ingenuity's Facebook, if you visit it, you'll see we post a variety of news. We post about our webinars and our newsletters and articles and all that. And then we post about funny things that happen around the office. When we post about the fun things that we do, those get shared so much more than all the other posts. So it also becomes a nice way to get your firm's name out there to show that kind of human fun side.
People like to see that. It's kind of like, you know, if you read the magazines that have the people on the move in the back, so many people flip right there and see what's happening. Kind of the same type of concept with Facebook. And of course, LinkedIn, if you can see, so this is the same firm, the Facebook page and the LinkedIn page, and we really liked this because the Facebook page showed the friendliness and the openness, a little bit more about the culture, and the LinkedIn is a little bit more professional. We were working with a client not too long ago, and they didn't have a company LinkedIn page, and I would say 95% of their leadership was not on LinkedIn. And they were looking for a really high-level leader, and they said, oh my gosh, we need to do something because we know people are going to LinkedIn and we're not there. And it's a very good point. I mean, your LinkedIn page needs to showcase what you're doing as a firm, have a professional feel, and your people should be on LinkedIn. So if a recruit or a lateral is looking for you, you show up and your messages and your firm is represented well.
This is another piece of that innovation piece as well. You know, if you're a firm that is trying to stay at the forefront of your industry, you know, or the industries that you serve, but you're not on social media at all, it sends a message that kind of sounds like you're afraid of innovation.
Rachel, a quick question. How do you respond to those clients that are afraid to delve into social media, even in this day and age, because they're afraid people might, you know, poach from their staff that is listed on Facebook or LinkedIn, or, you know, they just have that concern?
You know, my favorite defense against poaching is to keep your people happy.
It's a good defense.
Keep them really happy. I mean, there's always going to be attempts to recruit people away, to poach them away. Whether or not you're on LinkedIn. I mean, there are other ways for people to find out sort of who works for your firm. So I think that, you know, if people want to be on LinkedIn, telling them not to because they might get poached is a negative. It's better to keep communication open, keep your people happy.
A little bit more on LinkedIn. So many times when you're looking at websites, so we go to the news section because we're interested in what's happening. And when we see that things haven't been updated for 2 or 3 years, it kind of sets a feeling in your mind that maybe they're not doing as much, they're not as active. So we really encourage firms to keep not only LinkedIn updated with what's happening and current, but also your website that has a special place for news or PR. Make sure you are keeping that updated on a regular basis.
And by regular basis, we don't mean every day.
No.
I mean, especially if you're a smaller firm. An update, you know, even once a month can be a reasonable pace, because then when someone looks back, they see that it's been every single month, and they know that this is the right pace for you. Like Shanna said in her example, if they look and the last update was 2 years ago, that's a problem.
And raise your hand, it happens a lot. And of course, showcase your firm's look. People love photos, and it really gives a sense of your culture and the firm and what's important to you. I love this one because you can see that their office space looks great. It looks right into right outside, and looks like they have a great showcase of where their firm is located. So don't be afraid to post things about the firm, from your entryway and reception to an event that you participated in.
And it doesn't, don't be intimidated if you don't have a view like this.
Yeah, don't.
Because we've had clients at firms where a key part of their brand was their ability to make clients feel comfortable. So just showing, they had very warm colors in the office, and or showing some of the art in the office. You know, if there's something unique, or maybe you're using sustainable materials. I mean, especially some of the AEC firms have beautiful, beautiful use of, you know, sustainable materials, local hardwoods. They're using intentionally very good materials. So any of that on your website or on your social media can attract people.
Headlines, you know, a little bit about around in the same realm as testimonials. But if your firm has a recruiting director, as this one does, putting a message out there, but talking about just little blurbs about why people like to be at the firm, I think recruits and laterals love to get that feedback.
And I think they did a good job here. You've got his little testimonial blurb headlining that front page, I work with the best and brightest, and then you click through and it takes you to this recruiting director's message, and you see that consistency. I mean, that first shot's actually from their homepage. So they're really giving him a priority placement instead of burying the recruiting. And then lastly, video, one of my faves. So we talked about using video for recruiting, and I just wanted to also show this from one of our clients, Sykes & Company. They're an accounting firm. They're very innovative. So they actually did this 6-video series for onboarding new clients. But I've heard from the managing partner that he's actually using it to onboard new hires. They had a couple new hires recently, and the first thing he told them was go watch this series of videos because it will tell you all about how we work with our clients. And the whole series, it's maybe a little over a half hour to watch all 6 of them because they're not very long videos. And so I thought that was really innovative, and I thought that in addition to new hires, if you're a prospective hire and you see that a firm has taken the time to get this detailed about how it works with clients, what its values are, that, again, can communicate a real sense of confidence about what you're going to get when you work at that firm.
I think this just gives a great sense of the type of process this firm uses with their clients, and then you as a recruit or lateral get a great sense of, oh yeah, I can do this, I totally get what they're trying to do, and it's very detailed.
All right, so those were our examples. Feel free to shoot us more questions about those if you have any. We're going to go into the brand tips. Right after I do this poll that Shanna reminded me comes at this point in the presentation. So before we tell you these brand tips, this is our last poll in case you feel like we're giving you a test. I don't want that to happen. But I'm really curious to see. I'll launch it and tell you about it as it goes. What's your biggest challenge in terms of your brand specifically? Do you struggle with your brand in terms of your website? You don't feel it matches your brand, or maybe your printed collateral doesn't match? Or both of those look great, but the folks at your firm aren't all on the same page, or social media, or all of the above. What's the weak point in your brand? I wish that we had the Jeopardy music. I can't believe
we'll have to do that for the next one.
For the next one. Okay, perhaps in the May webinar, for those of you who join me, I will have the Jeopardy music. Yeah, well, again, we're seeing a winner. Pull away from the crowd, about 10 more seconds, and then we'll post it to everybody. That's good, because that's your answer, Shanna. I know. Yeah. This is her specialty. So you got a couple more seconds if you want to vote, and then I'll show the answers. All right, here we go. All right, so those are the results, getting everyone on the same page.
And we are, again, not surprised by that. We always kind of talk internally about these polls and what we think the answers are going to be. So getting everyone on the same page, we hear that all the time. Yeah, and website as the second, that's not surprising either. I mean, it's tough because a lot of times with firms, you know, your website just isn't the priority. It's serving your clients. It's, you know, moving into new market areas, maybe new geographies, bringing in business, and you don't really think about the website and how it can fully represent you. And sometimes it's scary just to broach that. So, all right, thank you for sharing with us what you're struggling with. All right, so brand tips, and we'll talk about these in a couple slides specifically in terms of the website and having everyone on the same page. But to start out, again, stats, I know, right? This was my favorite thing about brand that I've seen in the last couple of years. It was from a study of professional service firms, and they looked at about a third of the firms they looked at were brand leaders, and 2/3 were kind of average firms in their marketplace. And so they looked at what's the difference, like can we measure a difference to the brand leaders? And the brand leaders were realizing higher fees. And what's amazing to me about this is that bottom line, entry-level professionals, 35% higher. And what that tells me is those entry-level people, those really new hires that you bring in, they're getting a 35% lift from your brand. They don't have a book of business yet. You know, they don't have a bunch of clients. They probably don't even have a bunch of connections other than the people they went to school with. So having a strong brand is a huge value add to them and to what they can bring in if you're any kind of firm where, you know, they're expected to participate in any way in business development. And then you'll also see, look at that middle one, advanced level professionals, that director level or even mid-level, 20 to 29%. So it's also something you're offering your lateral hires.
If they're coming from a firm that doesn't have a strong brand and you have a strong brand, they can expect a lift. And if they are already a firm with a strong brand, you better have a strong brand, or they might see a dip in the fees that they're realizing. Which
I think it speaks to retention as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then I wanted to put a slide in here defining brand, just in case anyone needs this. This is the kind of thing, you probably all know this, but you may need something like this to take to leadership, to take to a board or shareholders if you want to talk about improving some aspect of the brand. What is it? So it's the set of expectations, memories, stories, relationships. So it's not just the logo. It's not just a brochure. And you can see what I like about Seth's definition here is that if the consumer doesn't pay a premium or make a selection or spread the word, there's no brand value. So you can see there the connection between brand value and, again, higher realization or higher premiums, because people see the value of your firm because your brand is strong. That brand should be communicating why your firm is different and better than competitors. And then this is just another of my fancy what's a brand slides. Look, there's a shorter definition for you in case you have to elevator pitch this to a partner. It's the customer experience as created and evoked by a collection of images and ideas. That's the brand. It's not the logo. It's not the name. And 34% of Apple's overall value is ascribed to its brand, which you'll remember 34% looks a lot like that 35% we saw on that slide about entry-level professionals. So it used to be something that people thought couldn't be measured, and now brand value is being more and more clearly measured with actual numbers. So how do we do it?
How do we do it? Exactly. So how do you get to a point where your brand is strong and you are looking different than your competition and you are standing out in the crowd? I'm just going to talk real quickly about how Ingenuity does it. Real quickly, discovery and research is super key and super important throughout this whole process. This is looking at your competition. What are they doing? What do they say about themselves on their website, on their collateral? Interviewing people inside the firm about the firm, and interviewing clients, such a key aspect. And then taking all of that information that is found and shutting your door and getting a highlighter and reading word for word and seeing any key themes that start to really emerge, and then looking at those key themes and what they say about the firm and how they are positioned differently than competitors that you might have. And of course, we've gotten to the point now where we interview, the leadership in the firm, but also some new hires, just because it's an important voice to get their voice as part of this research. And then verification. This needs to work. This needs to work for your firm. This needs to work for what your clients want to hear. A lot of times we recommend doing client focus groups, so we can take all of this information that we have discerned and share it with them and say, is this spot on? Is this who you think about, what you think about when you think about this firm? Is this right? Did we miss something? And it's amazing what comes out in those focus groups, because we just went through an exercise with a firm and had kind of a tagline pegged out, and the leadership was super excited about it. And the clients were like, it's okay, we think you should do this. So we did just kind of a shift. So because you want to make sure the brand is speaking to your clients. You want your entire firm to be able to speak the brand, and you want that brand represented through everything that you do. But you want to make sure it really resonates with your clients and your prospects, and as we've been talking about all day today, your possible recruits and laterals.
And I think it's a good point with interviewing new hires. I mean, with both laterals and new hires, you have a real opportunity to ask them, what attracted you to the firm, and what would you say our brand is? How would you describe us? And help get kind of the outside view of your brand from someone who has a vested interest in actually telling you.
That's totally true. And then that integration piece is so key. So you go through this whole process and you have now a brand that is strong. How do you really fully integrate it through across everything that your firm does? And so we kind of say step 2 is your visuals. We talked about website a little bit recently, logo, your marketing materials, anything that you would be doing from a trade show perspective. Make sure that the brand is consistent across all levels.
And we've got a question, Shanna.
Oh, yeah.
So what if my firm brand is boring, but our leadership doesn't want to change it.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so if your firm brand is boring and your leadership doesn't want to change it, there's a few things that you can do. We call it a brand stretch or a brand refresh, or maybe you're not doing a complete overhaul of your entire brand, but you're perking up the visuals a little bit, and you are doing some key differentiators, so you know how to talk better about the firm and why it's different than your competition without doing a complete overhaul.
And that's also something where maybe you can just get the go-ahead to have ownership of the Facebook page. You know, maybe you can just brand stretch the Facebook page a little bit, and if it starts having success, feed those statistics back to the leadership to show, you know, hey, on the Facebook page, we're warming up a little, we're opening up, we're doing this, and it's getting a great response. I like anything that can deliver numbers back to people. I think is very effective for causing change to happen in your organization.
Very good point. So this next slide, you know, that middle part, growth foundation, we are huge believers in having that brand, and that strong brand really is the foundation for growth for any firm. It's really where everything kind of sprouts out from. And if you have that to build from, you can be much more successful in all of these other areas. And this slide looks so boring compared to the three we just looked at, but it is one of the most important slides, and one of my passion points is how you talk about your brand. Consistency and knowing your differentiators is a huge component, and it's what we get when we go through that whole process I just went through. We talk about key themes and what makes you different than your competition, what really elevates your firm and what your brand stands for. And then that consistency is what you all said was important to you, getting everybody on the same page. So doing a training that talks about what your brand is, how to talk about it, and then continuously practicing it. You know, for example, let's say you are at a career fair, and as a CPA firm or a law firm, you're probably not the only one at that career fair. There's probably 3 or 4 other firms, you know, almost just like you in size, and recruits are going around talking to them, and all the other firms talk about, you know, how their firm offers great client service. And they get to you and you say something like, you know, our clients really rely on us for our intellect and our ability to explain our approach and help them make decisions. And can you imagine the difference that has in the mind of that potential recruit, where everyone was the same, and they come to you and you say something really profound, and they're like, oh, I want to work with you because you actually help your clients make decisions. So those firm themes or those key themes can really differentiate you in the marketplace.
And we've seen firms that we've worked with and firms we haven't worked with do this in a variety of ways. One popular way, actually, is to have it in some way up on the wall of the office. You know, some firms paint up the actual words. Other firms frame client case studies with big photographs, you know, demonstrate the work that they've done.
We have key message cards that people keep at their desk.
Right. And you know, we do trainings where people practice their elevator pitch, you know, so that even if you're not at the career fair, but if you're in a context where someone who might come work with a firm says, what do you do? Your answer is not, I'm in accounting. Where, you know, like you have something vibrant and exciting to say about the firm. So that's a good, I think, consistent practice, having them in front of you, all of that.
Yeah, those elevator pitches are key. You know, for all of you in marketing who are on this call, you can serve a very important role as making people practice those for you. And it takes practice. It takes practice to get it right.
It does, but it can be fun. People are very creative, and if you have, you know, some space in your firm, and maybe it's, you know, twice a year, where people kind of get together and talk about how they're talking about the firm, it can be fun and lighthearted, and you'll be surprised by people's creativity. And particularly, if you can also do it in sales meetings, like what are you saying about the firm and what's working? And then if you have the group that works with new hires or lateral hiring, similarly, what are you saying and what's working? What seems to be getting people's attention?
We have a.
Well,
no, sorry.
Oh, sure. Well, no, we can. Yeah. So we're going to slip in one more question. I'll let you field it, Shanna.
So we have a question about what is a case study. And this is a written example of what you did for the client, kind of what issue you were solving and what the outcome was.
And it's sometimes it's in like a 3-section thing, like overview, challenge, solution.
Sure.
Sometimes not. All right, so I wanted to stick in one more stat slide. And this is not just for you. This is, again, for you if you want to have a conversation with your leadership about what the competition is doing. So this is actually from a 2011 study, so it's probably even higher at this point. But 64% of the companies that they surveyed were using 2 social networks, and 40% were using 3 or more. And you will be unsurprised to see that 73% of social hires came from LinkedIn. So this is, again, if you're trying to build a case for, hey, we should have a better presence, here are some stats that you can use to build that case. And then we wanted to leave you with, this is kind of our last bit, and then we're going to let you go, hopefully enjoy some weather that's as nice or better than ours. But before we do, here are some, it's kind of a checklist to think about how are we going to build our employer brand. Like maybe you have a rudimentary employer brand or a moderately good one. You want to make it better or none. So the first thing is answer common questions. What are the common questions you get when you're hiring people? Just answer them ahead of time on your website, on your social media, so that they don't have to start with those questions. Use testimonials. We talked about that quite a bit. Use photos. Ask new hires how to improve your brand. You know, when someone comes in, don't just ask them, what did you like about it? Ask, you know, was there anyone else who did it better? And then you got swayed in the interview, like who's beating us? Like, what can we do? So use the information that they come in with. You can showcase both a highly professional and a more personal view, like we showed on the Facebook and LinkedIn pages. You can really do both. And then if you're on the social networks, if you're on Facebook and LinkedIn, don't ignore them for forever. Whoever's monitoring them, you know, there's a lot of ways to set it up to get an email or to get a ping to your phone if someone actually messages you. So you want to be available if a potential hire sees you on one of those networks and then sends you a question that way. All right, brand checklist part 2.
Part 2, use your brand to inspire new hires. That's kind of what we just talked about, and making sure your brand is vibrant and it portrays the message that you want it to. And let your employees help communicate your brand, and that goes back to making sure everybody is on the same page, not just the partners, but all the way down that they're talking the same message. And they can help communicate through their social networks as well. And then help employers perfect their elevator pitch. Practice that. You know, do it in, like Rachel gave a couple examples, you know, 2 times a year or in a sales meeting, and see what's really working. And share success stories, hugely important. You know, whether it be from a recruiting standpoint or a sales standpoint, share success stories so you know what's out there and what's happening with what your employees are saying that is working, what's resonating with those out there.
And you can share them internally or on the internet so that potential employees can see what people inside the firm are already doing. All right, we have a slide here for questions, but you all have been pretty good at asking them, so I'm going to blow through this and point out that we have some awesome free content on our website. Sign up for our newsletter. It's quarterly, so you do not get inundated that often. We really hate being swamped with junk email, so we don't do it to you, we promise. So you can sign up on the website, or you can email Melissa directly there. Also, May 14th, I will be presenting Is the Internet Making Your Firm Look Stupid? I sure hope it isn't. But in addition to that, it covers a lot of cool tips and tricks about being online and being awesome online.
And guaranteed some stats.
Some stats.
Some power.
Some high geekery, because I'm that kind of a geek. So you can use this link. And I should say this webinar, the recording of it, the PowerPoint of it, will go up on our website in the next day or 2. The link will be on our website. So all of that is out there. And in addition, you can always follow us on social media. These are our, search for any of these on these different networks, and you'll find us. And, you know, we do some fun stuff on social media.
We do. So they'll see those fun photos Rachel was referring to.
Yes, and share them. And then here's our email. So if you have any questions, we love answering questions. You may have guessed I'm the geeky one, and Shanna is the one who does trade shows and recruitment fairs and all that. So send your questions accordingly. But yes, feel free to send us questions if you've got them. And I just want to really thank you for joining us. As you can tell, we're pretty passionate about marketing and branding. And it's always wonderful to have people who are willing to take some time and sit down, maybe learn some things. And, you know, the better you all look in the marketplace, the better we all look together. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.